Alright, Zookeeper Grace here. We're gonna take a look at the Flamingo building today. We're gonna head on in. So this is the keeper area of our little Flamingo building. Let me turn the filter off. This is our big pump system for the big pool outside. Our filter system. I don't have anything else to say about that actually. So the birds are inside still from last night. You kind of peek at them through the window. We can explain a little bit about everything that's in holding for them before we go outside. It is a little dirty. I did a quick rinse this morning so I didn't completely gross you guys out because birds are messy. But it's not terribly clean in here. So we have greater flamingos here at Miller Park Zoo. They are the largest of the 6 flamingo species. You can see them over there standing in the moss. We do put some Cornhuskers lotion in that moss for their feet in the winter. And that helps keep their feet nice and moisturized to prevent cracks. I don't know how well they can hear me when the birds go running in and out of the water. So their feet, the skin on their feet can dry out and crack just like our skin does in the winter. And so we put Cornhuskers lotion in that moss for them to help keep their feet nice and moisturized. And then you can see their 3 food bins. They're pretty much empty right now. I haven't refilled them or washed them from last night. And then, so, I was gonna grab some food. So, in zoos, flamingos eat a special kibble specifically made for flamingos. It smells very fishy to me. And then, and additionally, they also get krill. This is, it comes in big bricks, and then I cut it up into slivers like this and stick it back in the freezer until I go to use it. So we're gonna let the birds out today. It's finally warm enough and not windy enough that they can go outside today. Thank you. So we're gonna open these doors. You know, stand over there next to the people. Yeah. That's always one of my favorite things to do. I think they get so excited to come outside.
Suzanne wanted to know again what type of flamingos they are.
So we have greater flamingos here at Miller Park Zoo. They are the largest of the 6 flamingo species. We have birds ranging from about 3 feet to probably just over 5 feet tall, some of those taller males. All of our birds are adults. That is a misconception I hear quite a bit, that they think those smaller ones are babies. All of our birds are adults. I think our youngest is about 7 years old and our oldest is about 24, 25 years old. In the wild, greater flamingos live to be 30 to 40 years old. However, in captivity, they've been known to live well over 60 years old.
Hey, Grant's watching. He says hi.
Hi, Grant. Miss you.
Go ahead and ask questions. We'd love to answer questions.
Yeah, I can start spewing my flamingo facts, but if you guys have
hit me with some facts,
questions-
Grace.
So like I said, these are the greater flamingos. They are the largest of the 6 flamingo species. They are also the most widespread around the world. Greater flamingos can be found around the Caribbean, most around Africa. They live in the salt lakes of Africa is where they are most common. What's really cool about these guys is they've also been found in as small a flocks as about 10 to 15 birds, but even as flocks as much as 10 to 20,000 birds. They are a species that feels most comfortable in large numbers.
All right, we got a bunch of questions coming in.
All right.
Let's start with Heidi, who says, is it true they don't have kneecaps?
Oh, that is a really good question. I will have to look that up and get back to you on that. I don't know.
That's a good one.
That is a good one. I haven't.
Kara, who's 10, asks, can they fly?
They can fly. These specific birds cannot fly. So you might be able to see, we do trim the feathers on their wings, or when they're babies, we pinion their wings so that they cannot fly out of the exhibit. But wild flamingos can fly. Some of them do migrate even.
Amanda wants to know, how many eggs does one bird lay at a time?
Good question. So flamingos are monogamous, so they will pair off and build a nest with that partner and have a single egg each breeding season.
Here's another baby question. Cassie's daughter wants to know, how early baby flamingos learn to stand on one leg?
Ooh, you guys are coming at me with some good questions. I'm not sure how often they stand. I know baby flamingos stay on the nest for, I want to say like the first month or two, and then they kind of form little creches in the wild. So that means that baby flamingos will kind of go off in a group together and protected by all the adult flamingos, while adults will go off and hunt for food, gather food and bring it back for those babies.
All right, here's two questions. One from Christy. Hi, Christy. One from Suzanne. Will they have eggs at our zoo, and are you going to give them an area to make mud mound nests?
That is a great question, guys. So hopefully, we've been trying for them to have babies. If you've been here previous years in the spring, you have seen, you can follow us over here. Yeah. So we do have, this is their nest mound. I did make it a little muddy this morning. We'll add more mud to it and other nesting materials as we get closer to breeding season. We did just switch them over to the breeder pellet. It's got more calcium and protein and stuff in it for breeding season. And then I'll probably help start building a nest their own, trying to inspire the birds to nest themselves. We have not been successful yet here at this zoo, but we're crossing our fingers.
Lindsay asked, do we name them?
So they are named. Previous years at Zoo we have done silent auction for, I believe all of our birds now have names. However, you still can adopt a flamingo on the Miller Park Zoological website. You can find all sorts of animals, but I do know that flamingos are definitely one of those options that you can sponsor or adopt a flamingo.
Great question from Diane. Why are they not bright pink?
That is a great question, Diane. So being greater flamingos, they are the palest pink of the 6 flamingo species. A lot of people, when they think flamingo species, they think that nice bright pink color, and that's actually the Caribbean flamingo that you can find throughout the Caribbean, you guessed it, Cuba, some of southern Florida. But yeah, so that's the Caribbean flamingo.
So to add on to that, Alexis is asking, what other types of flamingos are there? How many different species?
I came prepared because I wrote these down because I sometimes forget. So greater flamingos are what we have again here. They are the largest of the flamingo species. And then you also have the Caribbean flamingo that lives throughout the Caribbean, southern Florida. You have the Chilean flamingo, you guessed it, they live in Chile area. The Andean flamingo that lives in the Andes Mountains. The James's flamingo that lives in Peru, Chile, Argentina area. And then you have the lesser flamingo. They hang out in a lot of the same spots that the greater flamingo have, but they're about half the size. And they're mostly found in India and Africa.
Okay, so we're talking about flamingos being pink. Mm-hmm. Noble, who's 6, wants to know, why are they pink?
That is a great question. That's a question I get a lot. So flamingos are pink because of the shrimp-like crustaceans that they eat in the wild. I shouldn't have tried to say that word. It's a word that stumps me up every time. You know what word I'm trying to say. The carotenoids.
Carotenoids?
Yes.
Thank you.
In the shrimp-like crustaceans do give that pink color to the birds. They are omnivores though, so they do eat the meat, shrimp-like crustaceans, mollusks, small fish, but they'll also eat like decaying leaves, algae, things like that. So they are considered omnivores.
How do they eat? Can we talk about how they eat?
Yes, we can talk about how they eat. So flamingos are actually filter feeders. So in the wild, you will see them, and sometimes here they'll kind of dance in the mud up here. So they can dance with their feet to work all the stuff up to the top, and then they will stick their beaks down into the water. They'll grab a big mouthful of water, and then they'll actually use their tongue to, what's the word I want?
Filter?
Filter, thank you.
Yeah.
To filter all the water out of their beak, past the little tines on the edge of their beaks, and then to get all the good stuff out of the ground.
Okay. A lot of questions about them perching on one leg or standing on one leg. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so there has been quite a bit of research done on why flamingos only stand on one leg. They're actually, most conclusions come to they're actually just resting one leg, so that if a predator comes, their legs aren't tired. They do stand most of the time so that they can get away from that predator. But also, they have found that it also helps with thermal regulation. So if the bird is hot or cold, as you can imagine, those big long legs, they do lose quite a bit of heat from those legs, and so they will tuck it up against their body to help keep themselves warm.
Do we know how long they can stand like that at one time?
That is another great question.
No? Okay.
I've seen birds. I don't know a specific time.
Michaela, we'll try to get back to you on that one.
Yeah.
Let's see. Trying to find questions we haven't answered yet. Oh, this is a good one from Kara, who's 10. I think she asked another one. Do they ever try to get out?
That is a great question, Kara. For the most part, they do stay here. They've got their feed pool, their mud nest, their pool. They're pretty happy here. However, some of my big, tall males, they do like to spread their wings if they get a good gust of wind. And I have seen them try to jump over the fence if a good gust of wind comes along.
Yeah, if you ever come to the zoo and it's really windy, even if it's a beautiful day, otherwise, the flamingos are often locked in just because we don't want to have an escape. Let's see. Hannah's daughter, who's 5, her son, it says 5-year-old, sorry, wants to know if they can swim, and if they can, how young they are when they can swim.
That is another great question. Yes, flamingos are great swimmers. They do choose mostly to stay along the shores. They like those mud flats with the shallow water. But greater flamingos are known to be pretty great swimmers. You can see our pool is about 4 feet deep at the very bottom. And how young? A lot of people are coming at me with the baby questions.
Yeah.
We haven't had babies here, so I don't know. I know they have their baby feathers for a couple months in the beginning.
They're pretty. Somebody asked how little they were when they hatched. They're pretty small, right?
They're pretty small. I think they're a little bit about probably softball size, maybe a little bit bigger than my hand when they're first. That's a little bit bigger than a flamingo egg.
Yeah. The baby's got to fit in the egg.
The baby's got to fit in the egg, right? So then when they're born, they've got fuzzy gray feathers. These are great questions. I'm gonna have to ask one of my friends that works at a zoo that has baby flamingos a lot.
All right. Annie, who's 11, says, do they get along? They often see them arguing when they're here.
That is another great question, Annie. Yes, you will see some of our taller males squabbling. They do have a little bit of a hierarchy among those birds. Because we have so many males, let me see, we have 13 boys and 9 girls in this flock. So you will see some of the boys kind of figuring out the hierarchy.
All right.
Figuring out who's in charge.
How much do they weigh? We talked about how tall they were.
Good,
how much
yeah.
do they weigh?
So, believe it or not, these birds are only about 4 to 6 pounds. Our birds here. I have seen other reports of birds, some larger greater flamingos weighing as much as 10 pounds, but all of our birds weigh between 4 and 6 pounds here.
All right. I think we're about ready to wrap it up. Do you want to? Any closing thoughts, Keeper Grace?
All right, well, thanks for joining us here at the Flamingo exhibit. Like I said earlier, if you're interested in adopting or sponsoring the greater flamingos, you can check that out on the Miller Park Zoological website. We'll put a link below for you guys to find that. If you guys think of any more questions, drop them in the comments below, and I will come back and answer those later. Thanks for joining us, guys.